Hey, it's Matt here with Beech Signature Homes and Wallace Real Estate. And I think something that's extremely important that all sellers should be asking is, what exactly am I signing? So when it comes to the exclusive listing agreement or exclusive right to sell listing agreement, do you really know what you're signing? Have you actually read through everything? Most people don't, right? It's incredibly long, tons of legal jargon all throughout it, and most people never sign this stuff on a daily basis, so they don't really understand. So with this video, I want to walk you through basically how I would do it if I was sitting directly across the table from a client, having a conversation with them, going through and explaining everything. Now, I'm not going to read it line by line because nobody wants to sit through that, and that's also not the helpful part, but instead I want to explain what it means in plain English, why you're signing it, and the parts I think every seller should understand before putting pen to paper, right? So by the end of this video, my hope is that you'll feel much more comfortable with the process and know exactly what this agreement is designed to do. So what exactly is this agreement? Well, believe it or not, it's actually a lot simpler than it looks. And at the end of the day, this agreement really just does one thing. It officially hires me and my brokerage to represent you in the sale of your home. That's really it. Everything else in this agreement simply explains how we're going to work together throughout the process. It talks about things like how long we're going to work together, how we're going to market your property, what my responsibilities are, what your responsibilities are, how the communication works, and several other items that help make sure we're both on the same page from the start, right? So I always tell my clients this agreement is really about setting expectations, and when everyone understands their roles, transactions actually go much smoother. The next part's pretty straightforward. We want to make sure we're talking about the correct property. That includes things like the address, identifying information, but it's also where we start having one of the most common conversations I have with sellers, which is what stays with the house, right? And what you're not planning on taking with you. For example, let's say you've got a refrigerator that you just absolutely fell in love with and you want to take it to your next home. Or maybe you've got a chandelier in the dining room that's been in your family for years and you want to take it with you. Like, those are not problems. They're just things we need to have a discussion about ahead of time and make sure that we're clearly documenting so there aren't any surprises when a buyer does come along, and it's laid out very clearly what stays and what doesn't stay. Another question I hear all the time is, hey, what if my house sells in the first week? Am I still tied to this agreement for several months? The answer is no. The listing period simply tells us how long I'm going to be representing you if your home hasn't sold yet, right? So if your home goes under contract the first weekend, that's awesome, fantastic. That's pretty much what we're hoping for. But the listing period is simply there so everyone understands how long that agreement stays in effect. Next comes really one of the biggest conversations that we're going to have, which is pricing your home. And I tell every seller the same thing. We're not just picking a number out of thin air because it sounds good or it's what we'd like to get. We build a very specific and intentional marketing and pricing strategy. We look at comps, we look at what's currently on the market, what the buyer demand is, the overall market conditions. I mean, we pull in tremendous amounts of market data. So we're trying to gather as much information to make the best possible decision. And then we work together to determine a price that basically gives you the best opportunity to accomplish your goals. And pricing is one of the most important decisions that we're going to make together. And it's never a number that we just pull out of thin air, right? So it's not about looking at, hey, I pulled up this website and my neighbor down the road has their house listed at X. So, I want to try and get a little bit more, or we should price it that. There's a lot of information that needs to be considered, and there's correct ways of going about that. And we go into great detail when we do sit down with a client, we discuss all of this. So you're in the driver's seat, you make all the decisions, but at the end of the day, it's us bringing all that information to you and helping you create the best decision. Another topic that naturally comes up is compensation. And honestly, I would expect you to have questions, and you should. Before you sign anything, we sit down and go over exactly how compensation works. We answer every question you have. I've always believed that nobody should ever feel rushed into signing paperwork that they don't fully understand. So if you have a question, ask it. I would much rather spend an extra 5-10 minutes explaining something than have you leave wondering, what did I just agree to, right? So very important conversation. We go into great detail about how you can strategize with that and different options and what those may look like for you. But it's really good information to have, and it's a good conversation. It's an important conversation to have. Now, here's one of my favorite parts to this agreement. It doesn't just talk about what you're agreeing to, it also outlines what I'm agreeing to, and that's important. So when you hire me, you're not just hiring someone to put your home on the MLS or put a sign in the yard. You're hiring someone to help you develop a pricing strategy, to create a marketing plan and coordinate photography and videos and schedule and manage showings, communicate with other agents, negotiate offers. You're helping navigate inspections and work through appraisal issues if they come up, coordinating with lenders and title companies and attorneys if necessary, and basically guide you from the day we list your home all the way to closing. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes during a transaction. So my job is just to keep everything moving forward while making the process feel as smooth and stress-free as possible. So just like I have responsibilities, you do as well, right? So I tell my clients that selling a home, it's like a team effort. I handle marketing, negotiations, communication, transaction management, etc. I just simply ask that you help by providing accurate information about the home, keeping me informed if anything changes, and making the property available for showings whenever possible. And the better that we communicate with each other, the simpler and the smoother the process usually goes. So hopefully by now you're realizing something, that this agreement really isn't as intimidating as it might initially appear. It's simply the document that explains how we work together while selling your home. If there's one thing I'd encourage you to take away from this video, it's this: don't be afraid to ask questions. Whether you're working with me or another trusted real estate professional, you deserve to understand every document that you sign. And it's important, right? I actually appreciate when clients ask questions because it tells me they want to understand the process, and that's exactly what I want as well. The more educated a client is and the more that they know, the easier it is to make decisions throughout the process, and just makes everything a whole lot smoother. I hope this video helped make the exclusive right to sell listing agreement a little bit easier to understand. And if you're thinking about selling your home anywhere in Maryville, Alcoa, Louisville, Carnes, East Tennessee, in general, I'd be happy to sit down with you, walk through the process, kind of like we did today, but a little bit more in depth. And if you'd like to learn more, I've got all sorts of additional seller resources on our website that you can check out. Use the link below in the description. You can go to beechsignaturehomes.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.